Right, we're live. Hi, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. I know I've been a bit on and off the last month. Unfortunately, my old back break injury is still causing issues, but thankfully I've got an MRI scan next week, so I'll have a bit more of an idea then what's going on. In the meantime, Hannah behind me continues to be very helpfully demoing, which means I can keep teaching. So thanks for being patient with me over the last, feels like a while, but maybe a month, just over a month. I hope you're all doing well and you're making it through yet another lockdown. Keep taking it easy on yourselves. Don't expect too much, etc., etc. I think we're all becoming a bit better at doing this now. Right, we might as well get into it. We're going to start the class off moving through some sun salutations. So a little bit faster to come to it than previous classes, but I think when it's as cold as this, it doesn't always benefit you starting too slowly. So trying to get a little bit of heat into the body. So if you want to make your way to the front of the mat, bringing toes together, slight gap between the heels. And close the eyes down just for a few rounds of breath, opening up the chest. Have a think about how your body is stacked, thinking about shoulders in relation to hips, hips in relation to knees, and knees in relation to ankles. Drawing the shoulders back and down, bringing the chest out, making sure the neck is in a straight line from the spine. Palms of the hands maybe opening towards the front to help the shoulders to rotate open. And then coming into our breath, full exhales, and then inhales beginning from deep in the belly. Let's take one last deep inhale. Exhale. And then on the next inhale, raising the hands up, gaze coming towards the thumbs or straight ahead. Exhale, long breath, long movement all the way to the floor. Holding here just for a moment. We're going to stay in this forward fold. Bring a bit more weight into the toes so that the hips come over the ankles. If you want to take opposite elbows, you can. If you want to sway slightly, feel free. Maybe jog the knees out, loosen the neck up. And then release the elbows if you have a hold. Inhale, straighten the back, gaze ahead. And then exhale, stepping back and coming down. You can drop the knees if you'd like to for this first round or first few rounds. Inhaling up, opening the chest in cobra or up dog, and then exhaling back, maybe through child's pose if you'd like, or straight into your down dog. Nice and loose here, so really mobilizing through shoulders, jogging the knees, moving the hips, shaking the neck out. See how you're doing this morning, how much energy you might have, how open you are or not. Let that inform your practice. Now we'll step the right foot between the hands, dropping down onto the left knee. Inhale the hands up, squaring the hips. And then bringing the left elbow to the outside of the right knee, stacking the hands, stacking the elbows, rotating our chest around to the side. Release, framing the front foot, pressing back, coming up onto the heel of the right foot, toes into the air. Inhale for length, and then exhale, chest forwards over the leg. Keep trying to bring the hips in line, keep squaring them up. And then bending the knee, bringing that front foot flat, bending at the back leg and reaching back for that left foot with the right hand if you can. Otherwise, if you have a strap, you can use a strap, or if you're just bending at the knee, drawing it towards your bum without the arm, that's fine as well. And release, curling those back toes under, pressing into the mat with the left hand, right hand raising into the air. Straight line between the hands, rotating the chest around to the side and really reaching out of that top hand, pressing out of the shoulder in the bottom. And then frame the front foot. Step the back foot towards the front as you inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, folding down. Inhale, reaching all the way up. And exhale, hands through the center line. Inhale, reach. Exhale, folding. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, stepping back, coming down. Inhale, up. And exhaling back to your down dog. Let's really make an effort this morning to rotate those shoulders externally, create space between the shoulder blades. Try to keep the shoulders relaxed, and you'll find your down dog becomes a lot more bearable and much more of a pose for rest and effort if you can really start to get that engagement right. So keep exploring, experimenting. A lot of it's sort of seeing what works for you, what feels comfortable, what prompts you can give yourself. And then looking between the hands, let's step the left foot forwards this time. Coming down onto the back knee. Inhale as we reach the arms up, squaring that right hip forwards in line with the left. Back toes are relaxed. Relaxing the shoulders. And then framing the front, bringing the right elbow to the outside of the left knee, stacking the hands, straight line between the elbows. Using that right elbow on the outside of the left knee to help to rotate you around the side. And release. Framing the front foot as you press back, coming onto the heel of the left foot, toes up into the air. Inhale for length in the torso. Exhale that length forwards from the chest over the leg. Again, making sure that our hips are square while we do this. Bending the front knee, bringing that foot flat. Bending at the back knee now, reaching back with the left hand for the right foot. Looking for that stretch in the front of the thigh and the hip flexors of the right leg. And release, curling those back toes under now, planting the right hand inside the left leg, left hand coming up, reaching actively out of the left hand, pressing actively out of the right shoulder. And then frame the front foot, stepping the right foot forward to meet the left. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, folding. Inhale, reaching up. And exhale. One time through A variation as we inhale and lift, exhale and dive. Keep those breaths nice and long. Inhale halfway, nice and smooth as we exhale, stepping back, coming down. Straight line or bent knees. Inhaling up, cobra or up dog. Exhaling back. 5 long breaths. Even pressure from the base of the palms. No cupped palms, nice stretched out, spaced out fingertips. Even if the heels are off the mat, toes are relaxed, we should be able to lift and wiggle them. Neck is loose. Sometimes nice just give yourself a bit of a shake out, a roll out to remind yourself. One more breath. And then stepping forwards between the hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, folding. Inhale, reach. And exhale. We're going to go one time through B variation. Inhale, sitting down into your chair pose. Bum coming back, knee over the ankles. We're going to hold here for just a couple more breaths. Relax those shoulders. So we're not stretching with the shoulders here. We're letting the shoulders sink down into the joint. Last breath. And then straighten the legs, dive the hands down. Inhaling, halfway lift. And exhale, step back, come down. Elbows in at the sides. Inhaling up. And exhaling back. Let's roll the left toes out 45 degrees, right foot between the hands, squaring the hips up, knee over the ankle, holding here for 3 breaths. Again, relaxing those shoulders. We don't want to have them tensed up. One more breath. Framing the front foot, stepping back nice and lightly and exhaling down. Inhaling up. And exhaling back. Right toes roll out 45 degrees, left foot between the hands. Coming up, square the hips, front knee over the ankle. And then frame the front foot, stepping back and coming down. Inhaling up. And exhaling back. Last long hold down dog. Keep the sit bones nice and high. If you're someone with nice straight, with nice long hamstrings, maybe if the heels are on the ground and you want to lengthen them out, you can practice bending the knees, bringing the sit bones up a little bit higher, and then trying to maintain that height as you then straighten the legs. There's always more space to be found in down dog. Last breath. Let's look between the hands. We'll step the right foot forward. We're going to come into a warrior 1. So bring those back toes out 45 degrees as we come up. Square the hips, drop the shoulders. We're going to make the change into warrior 2. If you want to broaden the stance here at all, feel free. Back foot comes in line with the back of the mat. Shoulders actively releasing, relaxing. Steady gaze over the middle finger. We're drawing back with the left hip here. So left hip is pulling back at the same time as right hip is opening. We're going to come into a little bit of a challenging pose here. We're going to come into half moon pose. If you have a block or a prop, you can feel free to grab it and use it here. If not, not to worry. Stepping forward onto the right foot, we're trying in half moon pose to keep ourselves as side on as we were in our warrior 2. If you are using a block, you can either have it at its full height as it is here, or if you want it a little bit lower, you're more than welcome. The left hand is coming up, straight up. Constantly trying to move ourselves side on. We're going to try and roll ourselves back out of this into our warrior two. Again, nice and smooth. Reaching up. Straighten that front leg. Step the back leg in about 1/3 to 1/2. We're going to move into Trikonasana. So reaching out of the arms forwards. Let the right arm drop. Left arm coming up. Now we're not just opening the chest and the shoulder here, but we're also opening from the hip. So imagine there's that straight line coming down from the ankle, reaching the hip, that line carrying into the armpit, actively reaching out of the left hand. If you feel that shoulder rolling and rotating over, all you need to do is lift up a little bit higher and maybe reset yourself. So inhaling up now. We're going to bring that back foot 45 degrees out, just like our warrior one again. Rotate both the hips to the front of the mat. This time we're going to reach with the left hand coming forwards. Left hand onto shin, onto foot, to outside of foot. Again, if you have a block, you can also use the block to give yourself a bit of an extra lift at the outside of the foot. When you're feeling steady, right hand might stay on the hip, or you could even extend that hand up. If you're feeling super steady, your gaze can come towards that top hand. The whole time we're doing this, we're trying to square the hips up constantly. And this is a tricky pose for balance, so don't worry if you're a little bit wobbly. I was about to say this morning, but I think it's just gone afternoon. So inhale your way back up, and then we're going to frame the front foot, step our way back, and exhale down. Inhaling up, exhaling back. This time, left foot coming between the hands for a warrior one. Right foot rolling out. Squaring the hips up, so right hip drawing forwards in line with the left. And then let's make the change into our warrior two. Opening up at the hips, right hip drawing back, shrugging the shoulders loose. And we're going to make that change into our half moon. So bringing weight into the front of the leg. Staying side on if we can. Pulling that right hip back, so we're rotating, opening chest and both hips to the side. One more breath. Sinking back down into warrior two. Straightening the front leg, stepping the back foot in 1/3 to 1/2 into Trikonasana, so reaching out of the hips. Rotating that left hand towards shin or the outside of the foot. Popping the right hip back. Straight line hip to armpit. Gaze towards the hand if the neck is comfortable, or you can have the neck neutral looking to the side or down towards the ground if you're feeling a little bit tight in the neck. Inhaling back up. Rotating that back foot out to 45 degrees. Hip squaring up to the front, and this time right hand is reaching towards the front. Hand coming onto shin, foot, outside of foot. Again, you can use the prop if you like. Left hand coming up towards the ceiling if you're balanced. Final piece of the puzzle is gaze coming up to the top hand if you're feeling steady. Inhaling back up, and then framing the front foot, stepping your way back, exhaling down, inhaling up, and exhaling back. Let's step both feet between the hands. Sorry, both feet to the outside of the mat, outside the hands, my bad. We're going to come into a squat here. So nice wide squat. So Hannah, if you bring yourself front on for a moment. Now take a moment to, sometimes we just use the mat maybe as a little bit too much of a general rule of thumb, like bring your feet to the outside of the mat. Take a moment to find a squat that feels right for you. You want it to feel comfortable enough that you can maintain the pose, but equally challenging enough that you really feel like you're getting a stretch. Sometimes we can just sort of sit into a squat, our usual space, and we're not really challenging ourselves any more than normal. If you find that your heels are off the mat, what you can do is, if you have a couple of blocks, you can put them under. If you have a couple of cushions or pillows, you can put them under the heels. Maybe even if you have a spare mat, you can roll it up and slide it underneath just to be able to sort of maintain this pose for a few breaths. If you'd like to challenge yourself to come down a little bit deeper into your squat, you can bring elbows to the inside of the knees. And then as you lower the hands down in front of the chest, you'll find that you can open them up a little bit more. Using your exhales to let you sink a little bit deeper. Making sure that we're not rounding the chest down towards the floor, that we're sitting up nice and tall, shoulders are dropping down. Sorry. Hopefully none of you have someone at home pushing you over. But nice open chest, just like the start of the class when we're standing tall, crown of the head is rising. We're going to plant the right hand in between the feet, and the left hand is going to come up towards the ceiling, aiming for a straight line between the hands. Opening the body up to the side. And then replace left hand down between the feet, right hand coming up. And replace the hand down. Now we're going to come into single leg squat. So we're going to stay squatting down on the right foot, but we're going to extend the left leg out in a straight line. And you have a couple of options here with the leg. If you'd like to work on your sort of ankle mobility and flexibility, you can bring the foot down flat and really try make an effort to ground the outside of the left foot into the mat. If that's a bit uncomfortable for you, you can instead bring the toes up towards the ceiling. So pick whichever one feels right for you. What we're going to do is we're going to transition gently between both sides. So using the hands maybe initially to walk your way across, extending then onto the opposite side, and again, toes coming up to the ceiling or your foot being flat. So with each breath, transitioning backwards and forwards, trying to stay nice and low, and also making sure that you're staying with the hips in line with the feet. Sometimes if we start bringing the hips in front of the feet, or we're standing up quite a bit in between each side, you lose that connection with a stretch in the inside of the groin. As you become a bit more comfortable or familiar, you might be able to use the hands a little bit less, relying on the hands for pressure a bit less, or maybe even not using them at all, but that's entirely up to you, how you're feeling. So let's maybe take 2 more times, backwards and forwards between each side, your own pace. And the next time you come to the back of the mat, let's come into a seated position. And if you stay front on, we're going to bring soles of the feet together in front of the groin, scooch them up, and then a little bit of a cheat Hannah's taking is bringing the hands behind your bum, and maybe if you want to get a little bit closer, you can lift your bum slightly, scooch forwards, and you might be able to cheat another centimeter or so closer to the heels. Now here, what we want to do initially is use our exhales. Try to relax the groin so that we're letting the knees just be a little bit heavier. So really just encouraging those knees down without making too much of an effort or forcing it all. When you feel like you've done your best to release, to relax, you can then start to engage these muscles on the outside of the leg to help to pull them down. And then finally, if you want a little bit of extra encouragement, you can take a hold of the feet, brace your elbows to the thighs or the calves, and just gently coax and press them down. But all the while we're doing that, We're doing it in conjunction with our exhale and with the effort to try to relax and release rather than just forcing. And then release. Let the legs come out in front. Give them a little bit of a wobble or a shake. And then we're going to come into our seated variation of pigeon. So if you come side on again, Hannah, what we're going to do is straighten out the left leg, stack the right leg over the left, above the knee, and ideally where the sort of the lower right shin rather than the ankle. When you're in the position, you can then start to bend the left leg, brace it onto the floor, and then you can adjust accordingly. So if this is enough for you, that's fine. If you want to go a little bit further, what you can do is scoot your bum towards the left heel. And essentially what we're doing here is we're drawing the right knee in closer to the chest. Try your best here not to collapse at the lower back. So really important we have that nice straight line here. And then when you're feeling steady, what we're trying to do is we're bringing foot in towards the chest at the same time as sort of gently coaxing right knee away. So foot closer, right knee further away. And as you become more open or as you sink into it a bit more, you can come closer again. Using your exhales here to try to let go, release. And then straighten the left leg out, release the right leg, give it a bit of a bounce. We'll move on to the other side. Straighten the right leg, left lower calf crosses, and then drawing the right knee up, walking yourself closer to wherever feels right. Again, right or left knee pressing away, drawing the foot towards the chest. And then gently relaxing the leg out. Give the legs a shake. And we're going to come into cow face pose. So if you rotate yourself straight on again, we're going to bring right foot alongside the left hip. So the right knee is pointing straight ahead. Left leg stacked on top. So bringing it back. If that's a little bit too tight for you, you can simply have left sole into the mat here. Otherwise, bringing it back alongside. Now, just to go with this for the first half of the pose, we're going to bring right arm out in front, left arm stacking on top of the right as high as we can, and then rotate them around each other, aiming to try to bring palms of the hands together. No worries if you can't quite get there, even if you have to snag fingers wherever you can to find the hands together. Drawing elbows up in line with the shoulders, and then pressing them away from the body, looking for that stretch between the shoulder blades. And release. We're then going to take a gentle forward fold over the legs. So walking the hands out in front. Have a think about whether we have even pressure on both sides of our bum. So trying to make sure that if you're feeling like the left buttock is lifting slightly or right is lifting slightly, just adjust the hips slightly so that that pressure evens out a bit more. And then slowly walk your way back up. Unwind the legs, give them a bit of a shake. You can windscreen wipe the legs or bounce the knees, whatever feels like a bit of relief. And we're going to come on to the other side. So this time, left knee is at the bottom. Right knee is on top. Make yourself comfortable. And we're going to start with our bind again. So right arm on top of left arm, as high as you can. Rotate them around. Raise the elbows to shoulder height. And then press away from the body with the elbows again, separating those shoulder blades. Releasing the arms now. Coming into our forward fold again. Again, thinking about pressure in the sit bones. It's a much more professional way of saying buttocks like I did the first time around. So nice even pressure in the sit bones. Just making sure that both of them are pressing down evenly. And then pressing back up, unwinding the legs. And again, any counter pose you'd like to take. Now, reintroducing a little bit of movement. Let's come back over onto our fronts and into our down dog for a moment. Curling the back toes under, pressing the sit bones nice and high. I'm going to do a little bit of a forward or a front split flow. So we'll bring the right foot between the hands, dropping down onto the left knee. Relax the toes for a moment. Extending forwards. No need to raise the arms this time. And if you'd like to, you might want to extend the back leg a bit further back if you're feeling quite open, or you want to stretch it out a bit further. Squaring the hips up and really focusing in on the hip flexors at the top of the left thigh here. And then exhaling as you come onto the heel of the right leg, straightening it out in front of you, folding forwards over it. Again, keep those hips square. We're going to come into a little bit of a flow here. So inhale as you roll forwards into that front of the thigh stretch, and then exhale as you extend back, stretching the back of the leg. So flowing forwards and back between them, keeping the hips square the whole time, keeping length, especially when we come back with the leg out in front. Let's take maybe 2 or 3 repetitions of this flow. Last time back, last time forwards, and then bending the back knee, reaching back with the right hand for the left foot, drawing it in, releasing, curling the back toe under, and pressing back into a down dog. Give the legs a bounce and a shake. And we're going to come on to the other side. So left foot forwards this time, dropping down with the back knee. Square the hips, find the gap that gives you that sense of a stretch in the front of the right thigh. And we're going to settle in just for a few breaths on both before we start to flow. Pressing back. Keep the hips square. And we're going to start flowing now. So inhaling as we come forwards. Exhaling as we come back. Inhaling forwards. Exhaling as we come back. Let's take 2 more of each. And then bending at the back knee, reaching back for the right foot with the left hand, opening ourselves up to the side. And release, curl those back toes underneath, press back into a down dog, give yourself a bit of a shake out. Now we're going to come into frog pose. We've done this a couple of classes. So dropping down onto the knees. So here, what we do is we bring the knees out to the side. And it's really important here that the feet, even when the knees are bent, the feet stay underneath the knees. They don't end up pointing out or they don't end up pointing in. So they're still in line. And you can explore the depth of your frog. So it really makes a big difference. If you roll further forwards with the hips ahead of the knees, you'll find it lightens off. If you bring the knees in line, it's a bit deeper. And if you go further back, it can go deeper still. If you want to find something, if you have a pillow or a prop at home, it can be quite nice to bring the props underneath. What that does is it lets you just switch off and relax a bit more to have that support. You're not having to press with the upper body. It's quite an intense stretch, this one. So really important that you get those exhales nice and long. You really switch off. You'll often find in these slightly more intense poses that because the body is slightly charged up and tensed up, that the mind can start worrying as well. So worth watching where the mind goes to as you sit with this. Worth watching, am I tensing the face up slightly? Is there something I can practice letting go of? Because if we can stay calm and measured in thought and body when we're in poses that are a bit more challenging like this, then we'll find that if we go to scenarios outside the studio or outside the room, off the yoga mat, that are a bit more tense or challenging, we'll find that we've sort of got that practice of keeping a measured mind and a relaxed body. And that can make a big difference to how we deal with these challenges, respond to them. Now we're going to slowly come out of this pose, but I want you to do it really, really carefully. So press yourself up onto your hands and almost heel toe the knees back together. So taking your time, drawing the heels together, the knees a bit closer, the heels a bit closer, just working your way back upright. And then any counter pose you'd like to take, any movement you feel you need, moving of the hips, shaking of the legs, take a moment to reset. And then we're going to come forwards onto hands and knees again. Press back into a down dog. We're going to step the right foot forwards between the hands and then heel toe that right foot to the outside of the mat. into our lizard pose. Now here, you've got the option to drop the back knee if you'd like. You can stay on the hands, you can come down onto the forearms, whatever you like to find a little bit of openness. And feel free to add a little bit of movement if you'd like. If you want to sort of roll slightly side to side or back and forth very gently, sometimes it's nice to just permit yourself to play around, move around slightly in a pose. Sometimes in yoga, I think maybe we get a little bit fixated on complete stillness. So do feel free to just explore how slight shifts, subtle shifts with the hips or the knees on the mat can help you find different things in a pose. And then we're going to roll onto the outside of the right foot, sending the right knee out to the side, pressing the right hand onto the inside of the knee, just opening up at the hip slightly before we then heel toe that right foot to the center of the mat again, send the leg back into down dog, give that right leg a shake out. We're going to step the left foot forwards, drop down to the right knee, heel toe that foot to the outside of the mat, and again, thinking about how we want to spend our lizard pose, whether we want to stay on the hands, come down onto the forearms, back knee lifted or back knee dropped, whatever feels right. Again, option to move around, to feel into how the pose changes with a shift of the hips or the knees. And then rolling onto the outside of the left foot, left hand onto the inside of the knee, opening out the waist, the hips. And release. Send that left foot to the back, curl the back toes under, into down dog, give it a shake out. And then the last little pose before we come into our last back bends is dropping down onto the knees. Now I want you to bring the feet out to the side, relax the toes, and we're going to sit back between the feet. What can help us here is to roll the calf muscle out and away to the side so that we're not sitting directly on the calf muscle and they're rolled out of the way of the hamstrings. If it's a little bit too intense to have both your feet out to the side like this, what you can do is straighten one leg and either have it straight out or you can even bend at the knee. I'll just briefly get Hannah to demo that. So if you lift up, you can either have one leg straight out like this, or you can bend at the knee and have it up towards you. So those are two options that are available to you. If you want to come back into full. And then finally, we have an option. You can stay as you are, up on the hands. If you'd like to, you can start lying back, coming back onto the forearms. Or if you're particularly open, you might even be able to come all the way back onto your back. Whichever option feels available to you. And just spending a moment here. If there's any pain in your knee whatsoever, come out of whatever option you're taking. Much better to be safer here than force yourself into anything that could do you any damage. And then let's slowly press ourselves back upright again. Take your time, and then easing the legs out flat in front, nice and gently. Again, any counter pose you'd like to take, windscreen wiper the legs, bouncing the knees. Okay, and we're going to move towards our back bends now. So coming onto our backs, knees and ankles hip width apart, heels drawn up towards your bum so you can just about touch them with the fingertips. Hands alongside the body, palms facing down. We're going to lift the hips up off the ground. If you're feeling like you want to go a bit further, you can roll the shoulders underneath, interlace the fingers. If you're feeling particularly strong this morning, if you want to raise a leg on either side for a couple of breaths, feel free. Five of your breaths. Don't wait for me to count them. If you've taken your 5 breaths, then feel free to slowly roll your way through the spine, with the sacrum eventually meeting the floor. In between the 2 rounds we're going to take, you can hug the knees into the chest or roll the knees out. We're going to come up for a second round. Again, drawing heels hip width apart towards the bum, pressing the hips up into the air, rolling the arms under if you'd like to go a bit higher. And again, option to lift a leg for a couple of breaths each side if you want to work a bit harder. Again, 5 of your breaths coming down through the spine when you're ready. Rolling our way down. Again, hugging the knees into the chest or rolling yourself out. We're going to move into shoulder stand here. So if you're not someone who enjoys shoulder stand, or for whatever reason you have an injury or a condition that means you'd rather not, you can either bring knees up or legs up against a wall, or you can have it as Hannah does here, just loosely with the hips underneath the heels. Otherwise, we're going to come up into our shoulder stand, bringing the elbows together, shoulder width apart, supporting the lower back, squeezing thighs, hamstrings, calves, all squeezing together. We're going to take 10 breaths here. And today we're just going to take our 10 breaths and then we're going to roll ourselves down. Really focusing in on pressing those elbows down into the mat. Engaging our core, doing most of the work with our core rather than the hands. When you've taken your 10 breaths, we're going to bring the feet purposefully over the head slightly so that we can release the hands to start with, palms facing down. And then we're going to slowly, using the hands pressing into the mat and our core, we're going to slowly lower ourselves back down, taking our time. And even when the sacrum's down, keeping the legs straight, rolling the feet down flat. We're going to take a quick fish pose to finish up. So palms facing down, hands underneath the bum. A number of variations here. If you want to keep the head down, you can simply press into the forearms and arch the lower back if you like. That can be enough for you. If you want to come a little bit further, you can lift the head up off the ground and come onto the top of the head. Next variation is to lift the feet at 45 degrees. And we'll leave it at that if you want to go to that distance. But otherwise, finding position that's right for you and just taking 5 of your breaths. I won't count you out. When you're ready, coming out yourself. And when you're ready, then releasing the neck and coming down flat. Hug the knees into the chest. Give yourself a little bit of a counter stretch or movement. And then we're going to take one final release. So making our way onto our stomachs, we're going to stretch out the chest. So we'll start with the right arm coming out. Arm is in line, our elbow is in line with the shoulder, whether the arm is straight or bent. Pressing into the left hand. We're going to roll onto the right hand side of the body, making sure that the right chest, the inside of the right chest and shoulder is still in firm contact with the mat. That left leg can come over the sole towards the floor, just to help to coax the hips around a little bit further. Let's roll ourselves through center. Left arm this time coming out in line with the shoulder, pressing into the right hand and rolling over. Rolling back through center. This time the right arm up at 45 degrees, pressing into the left hand exactly the same way. This will probably feel a little bit tighter, and if it's not, I'd suggest your arm might have come a little bit too straight. So just bringing it out a diagonal a little bit further, but otherwise exactly the same as that first twist. Rolling back through center. Left arm at 45 degrees, pressing into right hand, coming over. And releasing back to center. Let's make our way onto our backs for a quick twist before we come into our Shavasana. Again, elbows are in line with the shoulders, so whether the arms are straight or the elbows are bent. We'll start by rolling legs over to the left-hand side. Gaze is coming over the right shoulder, and if you're quite flexible in your twists, you can cross your top leg or your right leg over the left, just to help to weigh those legs down a little bit more. And let's come back through center, out the other side. Again, option to cross the legs. Gaze over the left shoulder. And release. So any last poses that you feel you might have missed out on during the class? Anything you'd like to take as a counter pose? If there are any props you'd like to grab or clothes you'd like to put on, feel free to grab them now. then we're going to make our way down into Shavasana. So have a think about how you'd like to spend it, whether you want a little bit of lower back release, in which case bringing the feet wide to the edge of the mat, the knees rolling in. Or if you want to open up at the hips a little bit further, you can bring the soles of the feet together and let the knees roll out to the side. Or maybe you'd like to just let the legs stretch out long, let the legs and the feet roll out to the side. Palm of the hands maybe up towards the ceiling to help the shoulders to open, or if you want to connect to the breath, perhaps a hand on the chest and a hand on the stomach. Close the eyes down. Let the breath go. And before we go too deep, do just scan through the body. Each part of the body that your attention arrives to, ask yourself the question, have I fully released? Have I let go of all the weight? How much of the weight of my body am I giving to the floor? Let's slowly come back into our body. Take a moment to feel the floor underneath you, to feel the temperature of the air on your skin, to notice any sounds within or outside the room. If you'd like to add any small movements with fingers, toes, or face, go ahead. And then we'll very gently, when you're ready, roll ourselves onto whichever side of the body feels more natural to you. Taking our time, slowly press up into whatever is a comfortable seated positioning. Keeping the eyes closed just for a few moments longer. Take a moment to appreciate what you've done for yourself, the time you've taken for yourself this afternoon. Appreciate the abilities and limitations of your body, whatever they may be. And then let those thoughts all go. Let's gently let the eyes blink back open. Namaste. Thank you all for joining this afternoon. Thanks, Hannah, for demoing again. Be back again on Monday evening, 6 to 7 for strength and conditioning. Thursday evening, 7:30 to 8:30 for power vinyasa. And then Saturday, 10:30 again, strength and conditioning. And then this class again next week. I hope you're all looking after yourselves. I think we're all getting better at this lockdown stuff. But I guess be okay with not being okay sometimes, and don't hesitate to reach out to others. Or also just get in touch with people maybe you haven't contacted a while, because it's always good to check in. Welcome, Mary. Looking forward to having you all back in the studio eventually one day. Take care of yourselves. And if anyone has any questions about the classes, anything they'd like even to have included maybe in the future, things you'd want to work on or you prefer to have in again, just let me know. I'm always open to suggestion. So you can get in touch through the studio email if you like, or directly through Instagram if you like. It's the contact there. Yeah, keep well, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.